Thank you, mate. I try and ask good questions.
And try and give good answers.
And we're going to try and ask better questions and better answers, because enough from us talking. We wanted to try and get straight to the source for you guys on this Premiership Final preview special here on the Rugby Rundown. So we've got none other than Mr. George Furbank, Northampton Saints star, the fullback, and England star. He sat down with myself early this morning to talk it all for the big final coming up. Yes, I'm joined by Northampton Saints and England star, George Furbank. We go back, man. It's many years ago now, but I remember you as a Bedford schoolboy, and you might just remember me when I was still playing as well. Sounds like I'm putting myself really old.
Long distance memories.
George, thanks so much for joining us on the Rugby Rundown. I mean, first and foremost, let's start with the obvious. How excited? Premiership Final coming up on Saturday. What's your overwhelming emotion as you literally go to Twickenham to go for the big prize?
I'm trying to control that at the moment, to be honest. We had a big training session today, so boys were. You could tell boys were excited, and we just had to tone it down a little bit. But yeah, there's a really good feeling around camp. Obviously, last week was a massive game for us. Our first home semi in a long time, and we wanted to make our first Prem final in I think it's 9 or 10 years now. So there was. I felt like there was a lot of pressure on that game. I almost feel a bit more relaxed this week. I felt like we owed it to ourselves to get to a final, and now we're there. And I feel like the finals almost like take care of itself, really. So there's massive excitement around it.
Let's talk about that semi-final on Friday night, because you're right, it was 10 years ago. Corbs was actually playing that semi-final. I was part of the squad back 10 years ago as a youngster. It was an incredible time to be at the club. Was it talked about at all, the fact that it was 10 years since the Saints have been in a Premiership Final?
No, that wasn't really mentioned. It was more mentioned that we had an opportunity at home for the first time in a while in a semi-final, and we felt like we'd been really good at home all season. And again, it was just about performing in front of our crowd, and we knew our crowd would definitely help us get through, which they did. It was a hell of an atmosphere on Friday. It was. We spoke more about that rather than thinking too much in the past.
Oh, Franklin's Gardens is a very special place. And you are right. It's an odd feeling whereby semi-finals as a player are almost worse than finals. You just want to get there. Now, that game against Sarries, mate, I thought you were fantastic as an individual. And as a collective as well, it was, I guess, a tight game. And Saracens nearly coming back in the end. How do you review that game? I mean, have you reviewed that game as such in terms of getting that win against Saracens?
Yeah, we picked a few parts from it. I felt like ultimately we were in control for a lot of it. They probably started the game a bit better than us, but we were always sort of in control of that. They never sort of got out of reach, and that was just about riding a bit of a wave from them. And like we always speak about, the opposition are allowed to do good things, and they definitely did that for the first 20. I felt like we rode that pretty well, and then I applied our game onto them and took our opportunities. And then the second half, I felt like we were in control for a lot of it. I think when we went 9 points up, I was getting a lot more confident we won, and they obviously scored with 2 minutes to go, and then the nerves started hitting in. I wanted nothing more to keep him out. And obviously Elliot Daly's got like a 50-60 metre boot in him, so we knew we had to keep him pretty deep. And be red hot on our discipline as well. And luckily, Corbs and Timo come up with a decent shot to win us the game.
That was fantastic. Rightfully at the end, Courtney Laws was involved in it. And you talked about ultimately control. Control has been the theme of you guys this year. You've sat pretty much at the top of the table throughout the most of this Premiership season. Is there a feeling that you are favourites going into Saturday? Has that maybe been discussed? Is it something that you actually take on? I don't know. It really has been. The Northampton Saints, I think, have been showing that you're number one team in the Premiership. Is that the feeling that you have going into Saturday?
I don't know. I feel like when it comes to finals, you don't really get favourites and second favourites. Like it's a one-off game. Yes, we're in a place where we feel like if we implement our game that we could beat anyone. So like we're in a good place there. But now we've not spoke about being favourites or second favourites or whatever. It's a game where ultimately we got to go execute our game plan, and the rest will take care of itself, really.
How much enjoyment have you had playing with the guys around you? Because I know for someone like yourself, obviously like Fraser Dingwall, you know from Bedford School, you've been playing with him for years, but also playing with the other youngsters, the likes of someone like Finn Smith and Alex Mitchell, you know obviously from England. Like, I look at you boys, I look at the Shoe Army, and I'm not going to lie, there's a bit of jealousy in me. Like, I had some brilliant days in Northampton years ago. Feels like you guys are really enjoying yourself. Has that very much been the feeling all year?
Yeah, we're loving life. Obviously, it helps when you're winning games, doesn't it?
True.
That always creates a good feeling around the club. But we've got a really tight group of guys, guys who love coming to work every day with each other. We have plenty of crack together, and then also go and work pretty hard on the field as well. So we feel like we've got a really good balance with our environment at the moment. And like you said, a lot of us have come up through the academy together, or have now played a lot of games together. So once you get close, it just becomes a much more enjoyable place to be. Now
let's get your thoughts on Bath, because they are also a brilliant side. They've got some fantastic backs in there. You'll know the likes of someone like Ollie Lawrence, of course, played against Finn Smith when playing for England as well. Have you already talked about the threats that they pose, or is it very much just like you are purely focused on your game?
We've focused a little bit on them. We do feel that ultimately we execute our game, and they got to do something pretty special to come and beat us. But they do have they've got some special players in their team. They've got a front five who are pretty powerful and dynamic. They've got some back row who are very good over the ball, and again pretty destructive in their carrying. And then you give it to the backs, and you've got the likes of Finn Ross, Ollie Lawrence, Joe Cock on the wings. Like they got threats around the park, and we know we have to be on top of our game to deal with those threats. So we reviewed the threats they pose, but like I said, most of the focus on us.
What wins you this game on Saturday in your belief? You're a pretty experienced man now. What gets you your hands on that Premiership title? I
think our ability to be fizzing and right up for it physically, but being able to be calm and clear thinking within our game is what wins you finals. Corbs spoke a lot about it in our knockout games recently, about doing the basics really well, and you do those, and the rest tends to take care of itself. So yeah, we're going to look to be as calm as possible, whilst also being as physical as possible, and it's finding that sweet spot in our game to be able to do that.
Love it. I'm sure the Saints faithful will be travelling in their numbers to Twickenham. I know Corbs and we obviously have a soft spot, so I'm not saying I'm anti-Bath at all, as I'm about to speak to Matt Gallagher. Do you know Matt? Have you played against Matt over the years, but similar age?
A few times, yeah. He's a handy player as well, isn't he?
Exactly. Look, George, thanks so much for joining the Rugby Rundown, pal. Wishing you all the best of luck in this Premiership final.
Yeah, thank you, mate.
So good to see George on the show. I remember him as a real baby in the academy. The academy at Saints back in the day. And I'm sure those boys, looked up to that 2014 team, and to see them now in that position with Dowson and Co at the helm, it's pretty special. And you saw Jim Malander and Dylan and boys there on the weekend.
And now he's living it.
Yeah, and he's there now. It's pretty awesome.
Now, we have also one more team in the final. That is Bath. So we wanted to make sure we even this up. Even though there's two former Saintsmen here, we wanted to make sure we heard from Bath, and actually spoke to a former teammate of mine back in my Bedford Blues days. Great to see how well he's been going. Fullback of Bath. He is a star, and it's none other than Matt Gallagher. We hear from him how they are shaping up for the Twickenham final. I'm joined by Matt Gallagher, Bath's Matt Gallagher, Matty G. We go back, man. We go back.
We do.
We were just saying, just before we started recording, it was a few years ago. I say a few, more like about 6 years. Did you say 6 years ago when we played with each other?
We're getting a little bit older, aren't we? So.
Oh, don't say that, man. I'm now retired. Look, Matty, I really appreciate you coming on to the Rugby Rundown. And I suppose my first question is, how are you feeling? We'll talk a bit about the game from the weekend, but how are you feeling now preparing yourself for a Premiership final?
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? It's sort of what Bath and what we planned to do from the very start of the season. We had this vision, and we're trying to get better week by week. So, we're excited. That's probably the overriding message, really.
Excited. I love it. Yeah. You're feeling like there's more to it. You're probably also a bit anxious, a bit nervous. I mean, for you as well, Matty, like it's definitely worth mentioning that you were a former Saracen. You would have known about success in the Premiership. Is that something that you sort of maybe spoken to the boys about, or you know about finals? Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I haven't played in any of the finals, but I've been in and around the environment during those weeks. So, yeah, I've definitely sort of said a couple of things, but there's so much experience in this team, in this Bath side, whether like international experience or like Ben Spencer, he's been and played in these finals. A couple of boys, I think it was like Tom Dunn and Charlie Ewells, they were actually in the squad when Bath got to the final in 2015. So yeah, like I think this group is a very good group. It's got a lot of diversity within it, and a lot of boys who've played big games. So they're all sort of like thriving off each other. It's really nice.
Now let's talk about that big game from the weekend on Saturday, where you beat Sale Sharks at home, 31 points to 23. Tight game. Corbs and I had a quick chat about it all the way up until half time. Only 18-15, a bit to and fro. And then the turning of the corner in the second half. You were the man at the back. How did you feel the game went? As playoff rugby goes, it was at times cagey, but it felt like you gained control, you came alive, and in the end, got that impressive win.
No, yeah, it was. It definitely got a bit tense during that middle quarter, didn't it? It was. It was good fun. But yeah, the crowd really pushed us through. It felt it's the loudest the boys said the rec had been in a long time. The atmosphere really pushed us through. So it was good fun. But yeah, definitely in that middle quarter of the game, it was a bit tense. But nothing was really sticking as much as we wanted to. But then we just went back to what we do. So just went after the air, and we got some good control from that.
Now, you probably get asked this question, let's say twice to 5 times a day. What is it like playing with Mr. Finn Russell? Because you say go to your tactics, but I swear there must be a one tactic, almost like the old schoolboy rule of just give the ball to him. It must be pretty cool being outside someone like Russell. I mean, the guy is such a talisman. Yeah, just explain to us what it's like playing with him.
It's pretty cool to play with him. Yeah, he often sees stuff that a lot of us don't. And he'll be very nonchalant about it as well. So he'll just be like, "Yeah, trust, just over there," and we'll be like, "Okay, cool. Just follow him, and follow him around the pitch, and often something will happen." So yeah, I just like to play off him a little bit. But also, you got Cam Redpath outside him. You got Ollie Lawrence, got these power players, ball players, Big Joe on the wing, Horse, Will Muir finishing tries. So like, and obviously Ben Spencer with him as well. So there's Finn can see things, he can do things, but there's also talent everywhere around him. So I'm just trying to do my job as best as possible, and hopefully it's good enough.
Oh, mate, you've been humble. I think you've been fantastic. I know you're off to Treviso. Your Italian roots within you're trying to follow. Yeah. But I suppose I want to get a little bit of a snapshot for your position, for viewers at home. Being at the back, the last line of defence, having to command the air and everything. What's been sort of your... I think you've had a fantastic season. I think you've had a fantastic couple of years at Bath. How have you gone about your game? And then also, I guess, leading to the final... What do you focus on in terms of making sure you get the best out of yourself?
For me, I think as a fullback, there's like a few things that you really need to like nail on. It's probably your high balls, your kick in, your catch pass, you know what I mean? Bit of a running game, counter attack. For me, like I know, like I just said, there's talent all around me. So if I can do my basics as well as possible, I can put us on the front foot. I can put us in the right areas, whether that's kicking or counter attacking. Often that'll put us in the front foot, and opportunities will come from that. So just from me as a fullback, just high balls, look after it, do the basics well. Hopefully things work out.
Now let's just touch on the fact of things working out, because they have worked out this season. Yeah. Not necessarily worked out last season. And then you also mentioned that Bath haven't been ultimately in the final for the 9 years now. Like, what's the sort of atmosphere in camp? Just the progression you've made. You know, Do you feel like you've really, and you have, earned this and you're ready for a final? Because, as I say, in your time, in 2 years, it's been quite the progression under Johan van Graan. Like, how are you feeling going into this game against Saints?
I think there's an overriding sense of excitement going through. We're all pretty positive, and yeah, we're excited, but also our feet are firmly on the ground. We know it's going to be an incredibly hard game. Saints have been top of the league for the last however long in the season, and they've played some incredible rugby. So yeah, we're really excited for the challenge, but we know we're ready for it as well. So yeah, we're ready for whatever comes on Saturday. Last
question, man. What's it going to mean to hopefully get those hands on the trophy? You know about the threats of Saints. You know what it's like being in a squad to win this competition. You know, what is it? What is it going to take for you guys to try and get your hands on the Premiership?
It's going to mean a lot. It means Bath is such a rugby city. It's such a rugby community. Such a great place to play rugby, and the fans have been behind us all season, the last 2 years, especially whenever Johan's come in and been part of this journey. So yeah, it's going to mean a lot. But we know that we need to perform and, like I said, do the basics, do whatever we need to do to get it done, and hopefully we can give back to this rugby city.
Love it. Love it, Maddie. Look, I'll be watching from across the pond. I wish you all the best at Twickenham, my man. You'll be going up against George Furbank. Yeah. Do you know him reasonably well, George? You must have met each other enough times over the years.
Yeah, we I think we're the same year growing up, in school and stuff. I know him just from playing him, really, not personally very well, but I know he's a big guy. Love it, mate. It's going to be a great matchup. Matty G, thanks so much for coming on the Rugby Rundown, buddy. All the very best on Saturday. Cheers, mate. Catch you later. So there we go. We've heard from both camps. I don't know, Corbs. It's going to be tight. It's going to be tight. I do quickly. You got to back the Saints. Surely they're going to win this. I say they are going to win this. I think Saints win. Saints win? I wouldn't be shocked if Bath won. I think it's a game that could go either way, but if I was putting money on it, I'd say Saints win. Saints win indeed. And for your TRN, the Rugby Network subscribers, make sure you tune in some very special content with another couple of very special guests coming to you before the end of the week in a preview of that final Twickenham. Corbs, enough of that. We've done with the Premiership. Let's get into some Major League Rugby action. Let's understand why Corbs is so happy, because he got a win. It was week 14 of Major League Rugby. Let's get the rundown going on this.